Good evening, Saints. Tonight we're talking about Project 2025. That is the document that is going to bring about the mark of the beast, or at least in some cases push it forward so that it could take place. Let's see you after the intro. Saints, good evening. If you are new here, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, share with your friends if you do like the video so that they can be blessed as well. Let's go right into the topic. We're talking about Project 2025. What is Project 2025? We're going to see some things about Project 25, discover what it is, define it, and then go into the implications of it to us as Christians. What implication does Project 2025 have on us? Why are we studying that? Now, first of all, let's talk about the image of the beast. What is the image of the beast? Now, many times when I ask in churches, what is the mark of the beast? Many Adventists easily say Sunday law, which is correct. But when I ask what is the image of the beast, no one can give me the answer. At least most of the time, the people are confused. I'm talking about Adventists. They are confused of what is the image of the beast. I'm going to show you what is the image of the beast, but from the Bible. But let me get you so to you from the Spirit of Prophecy first. Manuscript Release, Volume 15, page 15, paragraph 1 says, I was shown clearly the image of the beast would be set up before the close of probation. Now remember, the image of the beast is set up before the close of probation. What does that mean? Why is it like that? Because it is to be the great test by which God's people, their eternal destiny, the people of God, their destiny, would be sealed, she says. Now, what is the image of the beast? Mark of the beast is Sunday. What is the image of the beast? Great controversy, page 445, paragraph 1 says, when the leading churches in the United States, that is the leading church, the main churches, Protestant church specifically, in the United States, uniting upon common points of doctrines, as are held by them in common, shall influence the state to enforce their laws and sustain institutions, then Protestant America will have formed an image to the Roman hierarchy. And then she goes on by saying, and civil penalties upon dissenters will result inevitably. What is that? The union of church and state. When the church tries to enforce law upon the message, church influencing the state, union of church and state. Now, when the state controls religion, we call it communism. But when church controls the state, according to the Bible, we call it the image of the beast. The church fornicating with committing fornication with the kings of the earth. That is the image of the beast. Now, what is the mark of the beast? Sunday law. The climax of the image of the beast, the relationship will be sealed in the signing of the Sunday law decree. But the image of the beast takes place even before the Sunday law. Now, what happens before the close of probation? The image of the beast will be set up before the close of probation. So when you see the close of image of the beast being set up, you should know that the close of probation is just right around the corner. That is the sign that we should be seeing as Adventists. That is what we've been preaching for a long time. Now, what is the image of the beast? Union of church and state. Union of church and state. How do I show that from the Bible? Just want to quickly show that from the Bible before we go into some current events. Just want to show you that before we start. Now, there are two beasts in Revelation chapter 13. The first beast is actually what we know as the papacy, and the second beast is United States of America. But look at what the image of the beast, what USA does. 13 verse 11 is where we talk about the lamb-like beast coming out of the earth, beast that comes out of the earth. And I saw another beast coming out of the earth, and it had two horns like a lamb, that is Protestantism and Republicanism, the two horns, and like a lamb, that is the United States, and it spake like a dragon. It spake like a dragon. Now, 12, and he exercised all the powers of the first beast before him. What beast? The beast that was before him. Which one is that? The papacy, the one in Revelation chapter 13, verse 1 all the way down to verse 10. So, what is the role of the United States? To set up the image of the beast. What is the beast? The beast that is referred to here. Image of which beast? There is a beast that it is replicating its image of. It's the first beast, the beast before it. What kind of image does it have? Now, when we talk about image, is the kind of characteristics, the features of the beast before it. Look at verse 7. It says, and it was given unto him, that is the first beast before the United States, that is the papacy. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given over all kindred and tongue and nation. So this power, this first beast actually have power over kindred, tongue and nation. It is a political power. It has to be a political power. Number 2, verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life, book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the earth. Now pause for a moment. I'm interested in the part that it says, it shall force all to worship him, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. This is a beast that actually enforces worship. It is a religious power as well. It is a mingling of churchcraft and statecraft, church and state uniting. When the United States starts to set up a system in which they're trying to unite church and state, that is where you know that they're setting up the image of the beast. Now, let's talk about Project 2025. There is a document that the people are trying to push God back into America. That's what they're saying. We'll go more into it and study what Project 2025 is. This is what WSJ had to say about Project 2025. Take a listen.
This 920-page document would usher in the most conservative executive branch in modern American history, if enacted. It's called Project 2025. Its pages offer new administrations a blueprint for executing a right-wing agenda, from purging the government of thousands of civil servants to dismantling the Department of Education.
That's a long video, but I do not want to show you all the things that are contained therein. But basically, Project 2025 is actually a document that did take a lot of time to put up. It is actually 920 pages long with 30 chapters. There are different authors from different specs, different areas of fields of study. Now, basically, around 70% of the people in the Trump government, roughly, the previous Trump administration, from all we know, they support this document. Specifically, those who are involved in writing this document, 14 out of the 30 chapters were written by those who were in the previous Trump administration. By the way, this document is actually written a Republican think tank party. It's called the Heritage Foundation. And majority of the conservatives in the United States actually basically they support this document. Now it was put up by the Heritage Foundation, and people like many conservatives in the United States, Christians basically, they are supporting this. And one of our Adventists very own, Ben Carson, is supporting this. There's a big problem with this document, which we're going to talk about now. It brings about the Sunday law. But first, let's go into this is what the president of Heritage Foundation had to say about this document, and some things that he stated.
In spite of all this nonsense from the left, we are going to win. We're in the process of taking this country back. We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
We're in the process of a second revolution. They're not afraid to say, well, they're openly welcoming war. What they're saying is, if the left doesn't allow it, we're going to fight for it. What are they fighting based upon? They are basing upon this document. This is Kevin Roberts. He's the president of the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank in the United States. They support the Republican Party. So they are actually trying to, this is the first 180 days of Trump in office. When he goes back into office, they have a blueprint of everything that Trump has to do when he goes back right into office. Can you think? This is conservative Christians trying to push forward their religious agenda upon the masses. I'm going to show you a lot of things, but look at this. This is what they said. Again, from US Today. What did they say? We're in the process of a second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it. And this was said by Kevin Roberts, the president of Heritage Foundation. Now, look at this document. I said it's 30 pages long, but there's some people involved like Dr. Ben Carson, an Adventist, one of our very own friends. What did we say the quotation said? The image of the beast will be set before the close of probation. Why? For it is to be the great test by which God, our destiny will be decided. Friends, I'm starting to wonder if by choosing the wrong side, people are slowly drifting and placing themselves in a stage where they will easily receive the mark of the beast when it is set up. That is where Ben Carson is. Perhaps, maybe he's doing that ignorantly, but we as Adventists shouldn't be ignorant. That's my answer. We shouldn't be ignorant. We were given prophecy some time ago, and I will show you how confused Ben Carson is in a moment. But this is a document that is written by conservatives in the United States. Now, look at this document. This is, as I said, 30 chapters long, 920 pages long. Now, these are the 4 pillars that are contained within the Project 2025 document, and they believe they're going to hand over this document to Trump, and Trump is going to implement that when he becomes the next president of United States of America. But it happened that Trump said something on his Twitter account. This is what he said: I have nothing to do with and know nothing about Project 2025. So what is Trump doing here? He's rejecting the idea of Project 2025, and he's saying that I do not have anything to do with it. We'll see if that is true. The fact that I do is merely disinformation put out by the radical left Democrat thug. Do not believe them. Donald J. Trump. So what is he saying? He doesn't know anything about Project 2025. Really? When did he actually open his mouth to say that? Look on the screen. Trump seeks to disavow Project 2025 despite ties to conservative groups. Now look at what happened. Former President Donald Trump tries to distance himself on Friday from a conservative group's sweeping plan for the next Republican presidency, days after its leaders claimed a second American Revolution was underway that would remain bloodless if the left allows it. So when did he actually make that statement? When those people actually came out and made this statement. When Kevin Roberts actually said, we're in a process of a revolution and it will remain bloodless if the left allows it. When that was spoken, Trump got up and said, I do not know anything about this. So he's trying to protect. Is he telling the truth or is he speaking politics? We're going to look deep into it. Now, look at this. This is what Trump said in 2022 concerning the Heritage Foundation. Remember, this document, Project 2025, was put up by who? The Heritage Foundation. And the president of Heritage Foundation said, we're in the process of a revolution. This is what Donald Trump said concerning the Heritage Foundation.
Our country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detailed plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
When America give us the mandate to lead forward, Heritage Foundation, you will be the people putting up the map or giving us direction in what way we should be heading. That's exactly they knew they had a purpose. They knew they were given the mandate by Trump. He himself spoke it out. He said that you guys will be putting forward the roadmap by which we will be heading forward. You guys are very intelligent people. And then he said, I do not know these people. I do not know what. I do not have anything to do with this. I'm wondering if he's just speaking as a politician. Because that's the group that he said they will be paving the map for the way forward. And they came up with this document. Now I just want to explain a little bit, why are they pushing forward this thing? There's a saying that states that the pendulum swings further the harder it is pulled to the other side. What happened? Now seeing LGBT rights movement basically the chaos from the left that is taking place at the moment, it's pushing them forward, and specifically the left Democrats enforced same-sex marriage in 2015. Remember? After that, America has been running downhill towards perdition. Now they are saying, because the pendulum is swinging far to that side, to the other side. Now they are saying that because of all the chaos that is coming within our society, within the American society, they are saying that because of all this evil, we are trying to bring God back. And what are they trying to do? Enforce Sunday observance. I'm going to show you. It's in the document. It's in the document. But think about it this way. How many we as Adventists know that there are two twin institutions that God instituted in the Garden of Eden, which men took out of Garden of Eden? What is it? 1, Sabbath. 2, marriage. Look at this. Marriage has already been attacked by the left. Now Sabbath is being attacked by the right. Both of them are Satan's agenda. We are not supporting Trump. We are not supporting Kamala Harris. We are not supporting Republicans, nor Democrats. We are showing you what the Bible is saying. Both sides, in any case, I'm not trying to say that Donald Trump is going to win the election. Maybe there's a great possibility that he's going to win this election from what I see. And if he wins the election, I believe they're going to implement these laws that are written there. Perhaps make some small tweaks and changes, but still they're going to put forward some things that are in this document. Could Sabbath observance, could Sunday observance be one of them? I do not know. Both sides are capable of influencing or pushing forward the devil's agenda. Now, that's a basic introduction about Project 2025. Friends, I would like to take this time to remind you that Lighthouse Beams Ministry is actually a self-supportive ministry where we do not depend on the conference, but we depend on God for our general sustenance to do ministry. We are still not doing it full-time, but we are looking into going full-time, but we want to partner with those who want to partner with us. If you feel that our work that we are doing has blessed your life and you want it to be a blessing to many other people, you can actually partner with us by doing a one-time donation through our PayPal account, link in the description below, or you can also partner with us on Patreon. There are different categories of subscription. Go in the link in the description and subscribe to donate on a monthly basis. Friends, there's a lot to do in the mission field, and we want to reach as many people as we can so that the Three Angels message can reach the utmost part of the earth. If you cannot be a watchman standing on the Mount Zion's wall, you can help support those watchmen. You can help us to spread this good news to those who need such messages. But now let's go into talking more on church and state. I see a lot of confusion. Many people do not understand. They say that should we enforce Christianity upon the message? Some say no. And then the question comes back. What about do not steal, do not lie, do not commit adultery? Those are laws that the state should be implementing, right? There's no problem with it. That's correct. Then should we implement the Bible and enforce it upon the message? Again, we believe that shouldn't be the case. America is a Christian country because it doesn't enforce Christianity upon the masses. Now let me just quickly give you a perspective of the Adventists of what we believe about state implementing church laws or Christian laws. Is it okay? Is it not okay? Where do we stand as Adventists? Now, there's a big debate going on about the separation of church and state. There's a lot of confusion because the American Constitution, the founders said a separation of church and state. Thomas Jefferson actually said separation of church and state. But most of them were Christians. I'm not saying all of them. Most of them were Christians. And the laws, as John Adams said, the laws that were in the Constitution of the United States, he stated that it is for a Christian nation to follow it. It is a Christian-like nation. The Christian-like laws. You know why? Because all those laws were derived from Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Exodus, laws from those places. But then why shouldn't we but then why do we say it's separation of church and state? I'll show you why there's a separation of church and state. They never force religion upon the masses. I'll explain further. There are two swords in the Bible. One we call the sword of the Spirit. Two, the sword of the church. The law of God was divided into two aspects. One should be implemented by the sword of the Spirit. The other should be implemented by the sword of the state. The sword of the state should not implement what is supposed to be implemented by the sword of the Spirit. The sword of the Spirit is supposed to enforce one part of the law. What do I mean by that? You see, the tablet of God, the commandments of God, if you see in Matthew chapter 22, verse 30 to 40, it says, love towards God and love towards brethren. It sums up the law. The 10th commandment was divided into two tablets. You can see that in Exodus chapter 34, verse 1. There were two tablets. One contained law number 1 to law number 4. The second one contained law number 5 all the way to law number 10. Well, why was it divided? The first one was love towards God. The second one was love towards men. Love towards God was only supposed to be implemented by the sword of the Spirit. Never should the church implement that. What is in the first tablet? Who to worship, how to worship, and when to worship. Worshipping is something that the Holy Spirit will impress upon the hearts of the people. No state can implement that. Period. That is the law that the state should never implement or force. Religion should never be enforced upon the masses. That is why none of the founders of America enforces the First Amendment of the United States actually say that the state shouldn't enforce or support and establish a religion. But then, when you see the second part of the law, commandments number 5 to 10, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not bear false witnesses. Those are things that's supposed to be implemented by the state. How do we know that? Now, if you want to see the sword of the Spirit, you go to Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12. It says that the word of God, it's sharper than a two-edged sword. It is implemented by the Spirit of God. So the word of God should make an impression upon the hearts of the people to serve God. Serving God should never be enforced. Now, the second part, we call it the judgment. This part of the law can be implemented upon the masses by the state. That is the prerogative of the government to do that. How do we know that? In Romans chapter 13, you can see Romans chapter 13, verses 2 to 5. It says that the government was anointed by God to implement. If you are a lawbreaker, you should fear the state because it doesn't bear the sword in vain. Now you jump down to verse 9 and it will tell you what kind of laws the government should implement. Commandment 1 to 4 is never there. Only the second part of the tablet. The commandment that relates to your friends. Folks, this has to be clearly understood. Many do not know this. Only Adventists understand this very clearly. And you know who else? The founders. Why? Because they had a first-hand experience where the church was persecuting Christianity. How do we know that? The papacy started off by Constantine when he actually enforced religion upon the masses. He actually enforced Catholicism upon the masses. What resulted? Persecution resulted, and there was bloodshed. Out of all the different countries that were enforcing the laws, one of the places that firstly got hold of the Bible and separated herself from Romanism was England. That is why God preserved Christianity through England. They colonized a lot of parts of the world and they distributed the Bible. But guess what? The problem that they ran into? They created a state religion. They created a state religion and persecuted dissenters, those who did not want to go against those who went against their laws and their degrees. And then there was a few class called the Puritans. The few class called the Puritans that said, we do not want to deal with these laws. We should worship God freely by the dictates of our conscience. That is why they hope on the Mayflower sail arrive at Massachusetts. in the United States. They arrive in the United States from the government there. But you know what? Sooner or later, they were in the United States. Some states actually made religious observance become a test of office, to hold office. You know what resulted again? There was persecution again in the early states of the United States. And then when they came up with the Constitution, from experience, they knew that enforcing religious laws upon the masses is not good. Is not good. That's why when they wrote up their Constitution, they said separation of church and state. What were they talking about? Do not implement religion. Do not enforce religion upon the mass. What specifically? Who to worship, how to worship, when to worship. Do not implement that. Who should implement that? It should be a heartfelt conviction by the conviction given by the Spirit of God in the hearts of the people. Folks, I want you to understand this before we go into the next segment, because there is setting the foundation. Now there's a heated debate about the separation of church and state, and many good conservatives that I look upon, they do not get this point. They do not understand the history of persecution. When religion, when Christianity, again, I'm telling you, America is a Christian nation. Why? Because it doesn't enforce religious laws upon the masses. Oh, come on, why are you trying to say that? Where did God actually do that? Where does the name Christianity comes from? Comes from Christ, the Messiah. What did the Messiah say? Luke chapter 20, verse 25, it says, render unto Caesar the things which pertain to Caesar, and the things unto God, the things which belongs to God. Jesus did not set up a state in which he said, we'll overthrow the Roman government because they do not understand Christianity. We'll bring back Christianity. And you know what? In the time of Jesus, the government of Rome was corrupt, just like in our times. In our time, it was in the darkest period of the Roman government's history. And they were bitterly, eagerly looking forward for a change, a revolution. And they thought the government, Jesus was going to bring revolution through the government. But he came causing revolution on the streets because of the word, because of the power of the sword of the Spirit. Do you see that? Religion, specifically religion, can never be enforced upon the mass. Worship cannot be enforced upon the masses. It should be a heartfelt conversion. God would rather have people worship him freely than to enforce him. He would have people worship idols freely than to force them to worship him. How do you get that? Jesus, the true Lamb of God, Christ himself, the founder of Christianity, acknowledged separation of church and state. Okay, let's leave it to that. Now look at what Ben Carson said.
And aren't you glad that yesterday the governor of Louisiana signed into the law, put the 10 Commandments back in the schools? You know, because after that Supreme...
Friends, this is the confusion. Put the 10 Commandments back into school? Well, you're only supposed to implement 6 commandments. Commandments 5 to 10. Not all 10 of them. The first 4 can never be implemented. Not all 10 of them. Only 6. Only that which relates to our relationship with our fellow men. The government can regulate it. Our relationship with God, no one can regulate that. There is only for the Spirit to see, analyze our life, and make impressions upon our hearts. Now, what happened? New Louisiana law threatens the sanctity of the 10 Commandments. You can go on reading these things, but the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, actually made it a law for government to put 10 Commandments in schools. You can read through the rest. Now, after understanding what we've talked about, separation of church and state, this is what one of our own Adventists, Ben Carson, had to say about separation of church and state. And it shows clearly that he doesn't understand prophecy, sadly.
And the governor of Oklahoma and the legislature said, we're going to teach the Bible and the 10 Commandments. Oh, no, you can't do that. This is horrible. Separation of church and state. You know, the Constitution says nothing about separation of church and state, by the way. That's been distorted tremendously.
Really? How so, Ben Carson? Enlighten me. How has been distorted? Now, us as Adventists, being Adventists, we know that there is separation of church and state in the United States Constitution. The two horns represent republicanism and Protestantism. Great controversy says these are the two secrets of its success and prosperity. Separation of church and state. Republicanism, a state without a king, and Protestantism, a church without a pope. No one man dictating. Either of them, and no commingling of the two. That is what makes America become a Christian country. America is a Christian country because it doesn't enforce Christianity upon the masses. Get the picture? Now again, Oklahoma, another state that tries to enforce the Ten Commandments, put it up at schools. Oklahoma schools now required to teach the Bible, 10 Commandments, superintendent. This is from Fox News. Oklahoma is trying to teach people Christianity. Now, let me ask you guys, who's going to teach what? When it comes to religious instructions, a Catholic teacher will teach the people to baptize by pouring upon water. A Baptist will teach their student to go through immersion. A Lutheran will teach another thing. Adventists will teach another thing. When we start teaching Christian religious observance, there's going to be chaos. And in the same way that there is difference of opinions in diverse different churches, there's going to be a wide spectrum of confusion in the government when we start implementing religious observance upon the people and start teaching it. But you know what? I believe that Adventism will shine the brightest when they start teaching that. God is going to use that avenue to teach Sabbath observance to the people. When they start talking about the 10 Commandments, some kids that would never have the opportunity of learning about the 4th commandment are going to learn about the 7th-day Sabbath. The 7th-day Sabbath. You see how God works? Nonetheless, in any case, God is still going to push his agenda forward despite what the enemy is trying to do. Now, let's look again. Let's look on the screen. Many people are not oblivious to this. They know these things that I'm talking about. Look at this.
Adopt a distinctly Christian preamble, and then all the 10 Commandments must be legislated. What we've done is we thought the second table of the law, so second table meaning Commandments 5 through 10, the commandments of God that pertain to our horizontal relationship with our neighbor, like don't steal, don't murder, these kinds of things. We think that should be legislated by the civil magistrate, but the first table of the law, not that. But that's not true. And I'm not just talking about Old Covenant Israel in the Old Testament. You look at King Alfred. You look at Constantine. You look at Richard the Lionheart. You look at Duke Godfrey, who chopped a Turk in half diagonally with one swing of the sword. These guys, they legislated both tables of the law. That's where all the prosperity comes from.
Wrong. That is totally wrong. Check through history and you will find that every time the states start implementing religious observance, the first tablet, that marks their downfall. You know, there is a power that tries to control and enforce religion upon the people through the state. That is not God. There shall never come another theocracy on earth. We cannot implement and enforce theocracy. You know why? Because there is imperfection. In the various churches itself, you can see the confusion. And how can you enforce religion amongst the chaotic Christianity? There in itself is an evidence where we shouldn't implement religious observance. There in itself is an evidence why we shouldn't enforce the first tablet, the first 4 commandments. I urge those government leaders, I urge the religious leaders as well, religious pastors, do not promote politics in church. Governments, do not mingle church with Christianity. It's a very fatal thing to do that. That is actually the image of the beast. Bringing together of church and state is the image, setting up of the image of the beast, friends. Do not do that. A confusion of that is pervading the mind of many people, and even the church is now starting to preach politics. Look on the screen. This is one of our very own pastor, a female pastor, trying to support Kamala Harris right from our own pulpit.
We are living in a time when a black woman, our very own Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, could be on the cusp of making history. You know I had to talk about it today. You got a woman as your pastor. She's aiming to be the first woman, the first black woman, and the first person of Asian descent to hold the highest office in the land.
Really? Should we really talk about these things on the Sabbath? Talking about politics, promoting the president, next president, the person you believe to be the candidate. That's going to cause division in the church. Politics is actually the spirit, manifests the spirit of competition. The kind of spirit that Lucifer saw in heaven before he fell down. Now, there was something, called the Johnson's Amendment before in the United States, where the churches are never supposed to promote religion, promote politicians from the pulpit. If they did that, they were supposed to remove the tax exemptions. But you know what? Trump, in his time, he removed the Johnson Amendment. And now religious leaders are trying to promote politicians from the pulpit. And our Adventists are doing the very same thing, sadly so. Now, in our final segment, we're going to talk about what they really mean when they say we're going to bring God back into America. How do they wish to do that? I will show you that they're specifically talking about the enforcing of the Sunday law. The blue laws, the laws that tell people to rest on the Sabbath, Sunday Sabbath, the papal Sabbath. That is how they actually bring God back into America. Everyone should go to church of their choosing on the Sunday to worship. That is how they're trying to bring about God back into America. But you know what? That is trying to enforce the first commandment. That which God have never required, that which is supposed to be done by the sword of the Spirit, not by the sword of the state. Who to worship, how to worship, and when to worship. Let's take a listen.
The first, I would say, is a public ordination to God. This is actually something which is within the American tradition. We have it on our money. We have it on buildings. The public ordination to God is something that has suffered badly in recent decades, but it is easily restored. And I would say it is enacted and continues to be on the books in many different states in the way of blue laws, of Sabbath laws. If you've been following our disputes, we've been proponents of Sabbath laws. A restoration of the Sabbath is the most concrete and material gift that we can give to our nation.
What is the best gift that we could give to our nation so that we bring back God to our country? Implementing of the blue laws, which were actually in the previously written down in different states. Do you see that, friends? How do they bring God back to America? Through the blue laws, through the implementation of the blue laws. That is how we dedicate our nation back to America. That's what they're saying. That's what the conservatives in America are saying. But when we talk about blue laws, Sunday laws, they talk about something called the common good. Listen to it. Take a listen.
Secondly, a restoration of a realist view of the common good. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then to discuss very briefly the problem with foul liturgies and foul altars that are defiling our country.
What is he talking about here? Common good, the common good. What is common good? Common good is actually part of the blue law as well. And they try to push the blue law, Sunday laws, as part of common good, stating that it is for the good of the people that we rest on Sunday. Now, when we do not understand those things as Adventists, we confuse ourselves, and there, as I said, one of our own, Ben Carson, unknowingly now is promoting the common good. I do not know if he understands where common good actually comes from. It is a Catholic doctrine, which we're going to look at, but let's see Ben Carson talking about the common good.
And you think about the early days in our country when you had communities, sometimes of 50 or 100 families. They came from different areas of the world. In many cases, they could barely talk to each other because they spoke different languages. But they understood a concept called the common good. That's language that you see in much of the writings of our founders. The common good. What's good for all of us, not what's good for the Polish section or the German section.
Sounds good, right? Sounds good when you think about it. But you know what? Common good is actually the Catholic version of communism. What is communism, by the way? Let's look at communism. It's a political and economic system that seeks to create a casteless society in which the majority means of production, such as mines and factories, are owned and controlled by who? By the public, the state. And then the state equally distributes it to the people, and they believe in something called the utopian society. There is the ideal society. Look at what utopian society actually it's defined as. A utopian society is an ideal society that does not exist in reality. You know what? Communism have talked about a utopian society for so long, but history has proven that it has never come up with a utopian society. It's only in imagination. It's only in the imagination. It doesn't exist. It does not exist in reality, it says. Utopian societies are often categorized by benevolent governance that ensures the safety and general welfare of its citizens. Give absolute power to the state, it corrupts them absolutely. It makes people slave again. That has always been the case. You know what? Common good is the Catholic version of utopian society, of communism. Commonwealth, sharing things in common. But you know what? Once that is actually what happened in the Dark Ages. In the Dark Ages, once they had religious power, they enforced religion upon the masses. They went into the Dark Ages, plunged into the Dark Ages, and history has shown us that there were only two classes of people: the rich and the poor. There was never the middle class. Middle class only came about when the Protestant Reformation came about. That is history. History can prove that and show that. But what am I trying to stress here? The common good is also tied with Sunday observance. Let me show you that from the screen. Compendium of the Social Doctrines of the Church, that is Catholic Church, chapter 6.286 says, public authority have the duty to ensure that for reasons of economic productivity, citizens are not denied time for rest and divine worship. Employers have an analogous obligation regarding their employees. Christians, in respect of religious freedom and of the common good, see that? The common good of all, should seek to have Sundays and all church holidays recognized as legal holidays. What is it saying here? According to the Catholic common good understanding, for the common good, the government or the state have the authority to enforce all legal religious holidays as legal, and one of them is Sunday observance. Sunday observance. And guess what? In this document as well, in chapter 18, written by someone called Jonathan Berry, they're going to implement Sunday as a day of rest as well. And you know who will enforce that? That's under the section Department of Labor and Related Agency. Department of Labor and Related Agency. Under chapter 18, they're going to enforce the Sunday law. And you know what? What Ellen White said about unions? The unions are going to bring about the time of trouble such as never was. And this is where under the section of Department of Labor, unions are going to enforce that. Friends, look on the screen. Last the events, page 117, paragraph 2. The trade unions will be one of the agencies that will bring upon the earth a time of trouble that has not been since the world began. What will happen? Because of these unions and confederacy, it will soon be very difficult for our institution to carry on their works in the cities. Friends, is document 2020, Project 2025, pushing forward for the image of the beast and the mark of the beast? I think so. It is the document that suggests the implementation of blue laws, national Sunday law, for all to keep. Look on the screen. This is actually the document. Congress will enforce communal rest by amending a Fair Labor Standard Act, FLASH, or FLASH, to regard that workers are paid their time a half for hours worked on the Sabbath. That day would refer to what? To Sunday. Default to Sunday. The day is Sunday. Friends, they are supporting Sunday rest. This is Jonathan Berry. Talking about the blue laws.
One of the interesting proposals that you've laid out in Project 2025 handbook from Heritage is stuff around the Sabbath. What are some of the ideas that you have there?
It sounds controversial.
That's Jonathan Berry, the one who wrote that document.
Specifically, the idea of encouraging Sabbath rest through discouraging commerce on the Sabbath.
Discouraging commerce on the Sabbath. Which Sabbath? Sunday Sabbath. Now, look at the screen. They might not specifically enforce that, but it is on the pipeline. Sunday law is in the pipeline, friends. Look at this.
The proposal that's in our book is amending the basic federal overtime law, Fair Labor Standards Act, to require that overtime be paid for all work done on the Sabbath. I don't think Congress has the authority to mandate like a national closing on the Sabbath. That was always a state decision to do that. But let me add, it was always a state decision to do that.
They did it.
and yeah, I'm not saying this practice was uniform, homogenous, whatever, but very, very widely spread, and only recently in the last few decades have most states moved away from this.
Only recently have most states moved away from those. What law is it referring to? The blue laws, and he's saying he's saying that the Congress cannot make such a law. This guy Jonathan Berry is oblivious of the fact that in 1888. Senator Blair of New Hampshire actually wanted to bring this bill to the Congress so that it could implement it as a national law. Now, we know that it was in different states in the United States as blue laws. Sunday laws were implemented as blue laws, and Christians, many Adventists were persecuted, put into prisons as well at that time, but it was revoked. It was revoked from Congress when one of our very own, A.T. Jones, went and talked about that in Congress, that we do not support mingling of churchcraft and statecraft, and Adventists actually won the case. There was no enforcement of the Sunday law nationally. If it was implemented, you know what? The Sunday law would have came in 1888, but it was never the case. But look what is happening. They are trying to bring that again into the Congress and discuss it. This is Senator Allen. Listen to what she said.
Use knives, or you can use whatever. It's the soul that is corrupt. And how we get back to a moral rebirth in this country, I don't know, since we are slowly eroding religion at every opportunity that we have. Probably we should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice on Sunday to see if we can get back.
To see if we could get back to morality. I do not know what's the problem here, but she actually said we should let every American choose the church of their own choosing to go and worship on the Sabbath, so that we can see if we could get back to morality, because there is a corroding of religious principle, of morality in our nation. Now, what Sabbath are they referring to? Again, it's the Sunday. It's the Sunday Sabbath. Now, They came a discussion where they talk about Adventists and other denominations that worship on other days apart from the Sunday. This is what they said.
Russ, this is for you. In a pluralistic society, in the example then, in terms of reinstating laws, at times then, you're not just talking about dealing with secularism, you're then isolating other religious groups. So in a pluralist society, if you reinstate blue laws, then you would have to outlaw sports teams on Saturday in order to accommodate Jews for the Sabbath, or Muslims, Seventh-day Adventists. So how do you kind of thread that needle?
We're not obligated to satisfy every group under the sun. You have to make these judgments.
We're not obligated to satisfy every religious group under the sun. We choose Sunday. We choose Sunday as the Sabbath, and that we will stick with that. They're creating an exemption for the Adventists. But you think they're going to stick with that for a long time? I do not think so. It's going to come sooner or later with force upon the message. If they think that is the way that they bring God back to the society, I believe force is soon to come. Force is going to come about very soon. Look at this. Look at what people are saying.
The only way to start the return to moral order in this country is by force. It's the only way. It's the only way. It has to be by force, at least for a time. We have to regulate morality by force, at least for a time. It's literally the only solution.
At least for a time.
And people have to start to realize that it is the faith in God, Christian understanding of morality. It has to be the foundation. And this is not going to be done by choice. It's just not. Not at first. It's not going to be done by choice at first.
Wow. That is a lot to say. Only for a time, really. You have to change the Constitution to actually do that. And just say that you do it only for a time is breaking the Constitution for a time. You know what you're doing? Trump will be doing, if he actually do that, he will be setting a precedent which the next government could do that. Do you understand that? The American Constitution, the Constitution of the United States, was God-given. God actually inspired the founders. But now they're trying to mingle church and state together again. You know what? They have to force people or change the Constitution. They have to break the Constitution or change the Constitution to suit their narrative. Do you see that? Whose laws are they trying to implement? I'm talking about the Sunday law. There was the Catholic institution. Sunday observance is actually a Catholic institution. And what do they say in regards to Sunday? Sunday is part of the common good. For common good, state should enforce church observance like Sunday observance. And guess what they also say about common good? Let's be honest, Catholic teaching does not always forbid the death penalty. Look at the point, the third point. The death penalty can sometimes support the common good. St. Thomas Aquinas makes this point. Therefore, if a man be dangerous and infectious to the community on account of some sin, it is praiseworthy and advantageous that he be killed in order to safeguard the common good. Friends, this was written in 2017. This is not taken from the Dark Ages. They still believe in death penalty for the common good. And what is common good according to them? One of the things that contained in the common good is Sunday observance. Sunday observance. And you know what? Finally, it will be forced upon the masses. And force is what they're going to come up. Resolve to. Finally. Force is what they're going to resort to in the final stage. Signs of the Time, May 6, 1897, paragraph 16 says, trial and persecution will come to all who, in obedience to the word of God, refuse to worship this false Sabbath. Force is the last resort of every false religion. Friends, when they say that there is no biblical sustenance for this false Sabbath, when they cannot implement it through the sword of the Spirit cannot convict the hearts of the people, because that's what the Spirit does. The Spirit convicts based upon the Bible, and Bible enforces, encourages, convicts people to worship on the Sabbath day. And when Sunday is not enforced through the sword of the Spirit, the state, false Protestantism, will grab all of the sword of the state and persecute the people using the sword of the state. That is when we're going to be seeing persecution and bloodshed again. Friends, we're seeing the image of the beast being set up, and next, probation is going to be closing very soon. Why? Because it is going to be the great test by which our destiny is going to be decided. Manuscript Release, page 15, paragraph. Manuscript Release, volume 15, page 15, paragraph 1. I was shown clearly that the image of the beast will be set up before the close of probation. Image of the beast is being set up. How we react to the image of the beast is where we will be positioning ourselves on God's side or the devil's side. Do not be mistaken, friends. People are starting to choose sides. Which side will you be standing on? But do not wait for the Sunday law to come, I urge you. Start now in the littlest of things. Ask God to convict you through the sword of the Spirit how to worship Him in spirit and in truth. And truth is only found in the Bible. John 17:17, sanctify them by the truth. Thy word is truth, John said. God's word contains the truth. Let the Bible sanctify you, convict you, purge you of your own self-opinion, and lead you in the right way, so that you will serve God and not worship the beast. Let's close with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for teaching us wondrous things from your word. Be with us. Help this truth to ever imprison upon our hearts. Let us know that you want to impress your truth, how we should worship you. Our relation with you is supposed to implement it. The conviction is supposed to be brought about by the sword of the Spirit. But the sword of the state is supposed to be to regulate our relationship with our friends. When we cannot live rightly using our conscience and relate to our friends, the state have the mandate and the duty, God-given duty, to implement the second portion of the tablet, the Ten Commandments. Help us to understand what it means for a separation of church and state. Let us worship you and give that which is the glory and honor, that which is pertaining to you, and also serve our nation and our countries as good citizens, Christian citizens of our country that we belong to. Be with us. Let us be prepared for your coming as well. The Sunday law is right upon us. It's soon to be enforced upon the masses, and our probation going to be closing very soon. Help us to make preparation so that we be on your side under the bloodstained banner of Emmanuel. Thank you. Be with us. We ask this prayer in Jesus' most worthy name. Amen.
Lighthouse Beams Ministry is an Adventist self-supportive ministry that is dedicated in spreading the truth of the three angels' message. If you feel that what we are doing has touched your life and can touch the lives of the others, please do support us by either PayPal as a one-time payment or become a Patreon supporter simply by clicking their respective link in the description below. Make a decision today to be part of something amazing and life-changing and help spread the everlasting gospel while we still have this little window of opportunity. God bless you all.